What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. James here, and today I'm going to go through an absolute banger. How I use a specific sales process, sales script, however we want to put it, to close more than 70% of my prospects on calls, which is impressive. But also, I do it in around 20 minutes as my average call. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is because if you're a high-ticket coach or you are an offer owner and you have yourself taking sales calls, or in order to sell your offer, you have a sales team, one of the biggest things is the length of these calls. A lot of calls are going for an hour, 45 minutes, 55 minutes, and go for a while. And if we can collapse the amount of time it takes to enroll somebody as a client, number one, you have more energy, or your team has more energy to do more, to be more proactive, to close more deals, to work on the business, or most importantly, it just saves you a lot of time. You can use that time elsewhere. And so what I wanted to do is walk you through this process that I've sort of put together with an amalgamation of different strategies that I use in my coaching business, and I want you to be able to go out there and use it yourself. Now, a couple of different things I wanted to touch on. Number one, I'm just going to quickly make myself shrink a little bit. Just a TLDR credibility check. I'm a real coach. I'm not a coaching coach's coach. I'm not just putting these videos together and not actually doing it myself. I run my own offer that does over $250,000 a month in cash collected in a completely separate niche. And on this channel, I just share what actually works for me so you can apply it to make a ton more money on your offer and change a bunch more lives, because that's what being a coach is all about, is helping people get the outcome you enroll them for. Now, here's a few different Stripe screenshots and payment processes and awards, just so you know that I'm not making this stuff up, and we can move on. So, quick context. My main offer that I sell is a beginner-friendly e-commerce program. It's about $2,500 on the front end with a higher ticket MRR back end as well. Now, the reason why we're able to have a front end and a back end is because we're really, really good at helping our clients get the result they signed up for, and that's a whole different topic when it comes to the delivery side of things. Now, we primarily acquire clients for that $2,500 front end through booking calls on a VSL, so paid ads, or by enrolling clients through DM on Instagram without a sales call, and we do that again through paid ads. We're very much a paid ads business, but this process will work for any high ticket coach, including yourself if you're watching this, who has a high ticket offer. If you're selling it through the phone, Zoom, VSL, webinar, DMs, regardless, if you're booking in a call and they're showing up to the call, you can use this to make more money in a lot less time. Now, how do we go out there and close at 70%, at least for myself, in about 20 minutes or less on average? The way that we do it starts, first of all, in step one, which is actually just forcing consumption of pre-call assets. You see, if you have gone out there and done sales calls in the past with prospects who have shown up and they don't fully know what it is that you do, you already start to slump in your chair because you know it's going to be a long call. And that's what pre-call assets is all about, but it also has a few other benefits as well. Now, what this looks like is understanding that when somebody books in a call, whether they've been booked in by a DM setter or they're booked in through a VSL, they're booked in from a webinar, whatever it may be, you need to not just assume that they're going to come in warm and ready to buy. You have to assume that they're coming in completely cold. You need to take full responsibility for giving them all the information they need to enroll and become a client before the call. Because if you look at it from the lens of, hey, this person has booked in a call, this is when the call is, this period here is when I can jump in, or the rep can jump in and take responsibility and ownership for giving them all the information that they need to feel good, to feel certain, to not feel skeptical, to be bought into the idea of working with you before they've shown up to the call. A lot of people assume that the client or the prospect is going to do it on their own, and that's not how it works. In fact, it's actually a one-way road to lead them towards a competitor. We want to take full responsibility. So what do? Well, we put together a pre-call asset page, and I'm going to walk you through what that looks like in a second. But that is a page, and it's usually the page that they see when they book in the call. After they confirm the call, so book in on Calendly or OneHub, whatever it is you're using, and then redirects to a confirmation page. That's what we're talking about. But on that confirmation page, we're not talking about your standard, hey, make sure you shop, ready to go with a notepad and pen paper, ready to buy with your credit card. No, like, we are turning this page into something that actually warms them up and gives them what it is they need. What we do is we then force them to consume that before the call, at least as much as we can. Human beings have free will, but we really do try to push it. And we're happy to, most times, just reschedule the call, whether it's 20 minutes later, which oftentimes we do, so they have time to go through it if they haven't done it, or later that day or the next day. Because we would much rather somebody come on warm and have an understanding of who we are, what we do, how we can help them, what it all looks like, what it costs, as opposed to coming completely cold, because they're not going to have as good of an experience. And also, the person who is enrolling the person or having that strategy session or sales call is going to have a rougher time. Whether that's you, whether that's a sales team, regardless, we want to try to avoid that. So what do? We put together the pre-call asset page, which I'll show you in a second. And then after somebody books in, we message them upon booking and send them the link and let them know that they should go through this before the call. We also have email and SMS automations, sending them back to that page, reminding them about this page, showing them this page so they know they need to go there. And then we also have the confirmation call / setter call, where we call them up on the morning of the call, or we have a setter call them up and check, hey, have you gone through those videos? Because again, this is not only for you to take your calls and make them far shorter, but also it's for the client, because if they go through this beforehand, they can make a more educated decision and they're more excited to jump on the call because they know exactly what it is that you do and they're more interested and excited to go ahead and pull the trigger. So we go ahead and we force the consumption of them. And then on the day of the call, if they showed up at the call and they haven't gone through it, and we can just tell that they're a colder leader, you don't want to get on a call with somebody and you can just tell this person is not at the level ready to buy. Like it would be a 2.5 hour, like literally ripping teeth extraction kind of thing to guide them through every single level of what you do, how it all works, why it's better than everything else. If you get to that point, it's far better just to reschedule for 20 minutes later and say, hey, can you just watch these videos? I'll make myself a coffee and then we'll jump back on and we can go through it all together, right? If you frame it in their best interests, then you're going to be able to get them to do that. And even if it's a case of rescheduling the next day, I'd much rather do that than have to go through a 2-hour call. So understand that everyone comes in the funnel at different interest levels and skepticism levels. If you don't believe me, look back at all the different calls we've done over the last 2 weeks. You'll see everyone was at a different level of interest and skepticism, all those different things. So on your pre-call asset page, which I'm going to cover you in a second, you want to touch on the following things. The first thing is immediate proof that you're genuine. If you've booked in a call with a coach or a rep or a program, there's always going to be a part of you that goes, I don't know, is it legit? Can they actually get me what I want? If you're selling to more of a mass market, like a biz op audience, you're going to have a look at what's saying, is it a scam? Is it not real? Like these are the things that are immediately going through the head. So you want to address that right off the rip. You want to have a clear explanation of how your vehicle, whatever it is you sell, gets them the outcome they're signing up for. You want to have a program outline with your guarantees. How does it all work? Give them all that information before the call. If you are open to it, if you're selling to a more sophisticated market, or if you're selling mass market, you just want to cut down your calls, like give them the price, tell them the price, justify the price, tell them why it's worth it. And then we go into stuff like FAQs, objections, obstacles, proof galore, obviously a lot of proof, and then links to discover more and read reviews. That's all the stuff that we cover on page. We get them to go through before the call. You can start to see why we start to close at a high rate, and we also have a very short time for a call. So let's go through an example from my pre-call page. So it's a big scrolly page. You scroll all the way down to the bottom, so I decided to break it up into little sections like this. So section number 1, you see congratulate them, and I say watch this video first. Do not skip this video. And in this video, I congratulate them for booking in the call. But the next thing I do is I show proof. I just show them proof that this is something that is actually real, that is something that is really, really legitimate. Because if I can't touch on that, and that's the number one thing that's in their mind, well then what are the odds they're actually going to show up? If I can't prove to them that what we do is legit and they're nervous around skepticism, scam, is it real, is it not? Like there's a lot of people who are very, very skeptical about the online space. And if they're booking a call with me about making money online, I better address that up front. And that's exactly what that video does. I address the skepticism. I show reviews. I show numbers. I show metrics to show that we really are the real deal. And then I go through setting them up for the call. Make sure you show up at home with a pen and paper. Don't do it while you're driving. Don't take the call while you're in a nightclub. And then I introduce the assets that are below on the page, which I'm going to cover in a second. But the very first thing here is if that's the one video they're going to watch, if I know that not everyone's going to watch everything, no matter how much I try to push it, the number one thing I need to do is remove the skepticism. That's the biggest thing that stops people from showing up 9 times out of 10. So you'll see if you watch these videos that we really do cover that off the rip to make sure that at the very least they know that we're not some big scam. We really are the real deal. And then we set up the rest of the stuff. Make sure you check out the videos on this page. I'm going to go through what it costs, how it all works, a lot of your frequently asked questions, and a bunch of different client success stories and interviews so you can hear from people just like you about what they were going through prior to joining the program and the results they've had as a result of joining. All right, now let's go into section 2. After we've gone through and just set them up for the call, gone through just the basic skepticism stuff and introduce the assets below, the next thing is one of the biggest needle movers that I learned from one of my mentors, Jeremy Haynes. He's an absolute legend. He's a genius with this kind of stuff. And it was really just the FAQ page, putting together a little series of FAQ videos that are organized there with basically just the top of mind questions that they have. So if you look at these questions here, how will I make money with the system? What is the investment to join? One of the biggest things people just want to know is what is the fucking price? And that's what we cover right there. Here's what the price is. Here's why it's justified. And look, if you're a bit tight on funds, we do have payment plans and stuff like that. Just to remove people from here in $2,500, I only have $2,000 in my bank account. I better not show up, you know? Because at the end of the day, we can always find a way to break it up for them. We want to make sure that they know the price beforehand, so they're not getting sticker shock on the call. What's another thing you deal with all the time on long sales calls is people didn't expect it to be 5K, 10K, and then they absolutely just get sticker shock, and then you have to do 40 minutes of justifying the value over and over again. But when we introduce the investment up front, and then they then go through FAQs and proof and client success stories and interviews, and they go on the call, and they go into the process, and they go through everything you will do from here on out, it all just justifies the investment as opposed to here's all the information, it's all really great, here's the price, boom, excitement has got to a zero. That's the really cool thing about this. Now, if you have a sophisticated market, if you're B2B, if you have a very specific service, I really recommend putting the investment there. I think it's been an absolute game changer for us. And even though a sort of BizOp program, something that's more beginner focused, some people would recommend not doing it. I have actually been stoked about it because it brings people who are actually willing to take action, people who are really good fit for the program, and it brings our time for the calls massively down. And ironically, you would think that the show rate would suffer massively. But as a result of doing all the things we're covering in this video, while revealing the price, our show rates have never been better. So a little bit of interesting food for thought there. Stuff like, what do I actually get when I join the program? How long until I start making money? How much ongoing capital do I need? How much time do I need to dedicate to this? What type of products will I be selling online? How is it different from all the other gurus? What's the money back guarantee? All these things are things that people who are interested in a program like this really do have top of mind. They're things that they really do care about. They want to know about. These are the things that are concerns for them. And so FAQs, objections, obstacles, price, guarantee, that's what I cover right here. No fluff, little videos, 1 minute, 2 minute, 30 seconds. They can go through these, get their questions answered. And that's a really big part of making this thing work. Next thing is section 3. And link usually to the reviews. I just linked to the Trustpilot. You've got a good Trustpilot, you just got the link there, you press that, it goes to Trustpilot, done. And I also have a bit where I frame the reviews. So PS, Trustpilot is a credible review platform where businesses cannot delete or hide reviews, ensuring transparent, unfiltered client feedback. I put that there just so they don't think that it's just a bunch of biased reviews that I've put and copy and pasted there. No, like, this is real reviews. They can go through those. They can see our real client results. And a big thing I always hammer on this channel is if you have a program, make sure it actually delivers on the results you promise. Don't come in and say, hey, listen, like I have no, I don't have good reviews. Everyone, my clients hates me. I lied and I under-delivered. Cool, then that's an issue with your business and you're off. I don't want to be working with you. But if you've got a good program with good reviews, just like this, and you could highlight these and link directly to them. A lot of businesses are scared to have their reviews on display because they don't have good ones. And that's a sign they need to work on your delivery, you need to work on your coaching, you need to work on your fulfillment. But if you have those things dialed in, I have a bunch of videos on this channel where I'm going to go deeper into how to actually deliver for your clients, how to build a success coaching team, client success team that actually gives people the feedback and the accountability and the support they need to get the results. I'll cover all this stuff. But once you have those good reviews, put them out on display because it's something to be proud of, to be ashamed of, because a lot of people get really nervous and weirded out about that kind of stuff. Even if you have a couple of 3 stars, a couple of 2 stars, one of the best things you can do is send people to there and actually just reply to the comments and say, hey, appreciate the review, just for context, and then you can frame the review in terms of here's what actually happened. Because 99% of the time, if somebody leaves a bad review on your coaching program, sure, maybe there's some things that you could have done better. But there's oftentimes going to be somebody who doesn't really take accountability, or they misconstrue what happened, or they wanted to use you as a piggy bank and ask for a refund for no reason. You said no because you've delivered the services, and they thought they could use you as a piggy bank, and then left a bad review. In that case, just say, here's what happened. Just give context. And the people who are going to be good clients, they will read that and go, oh, cool, that doesn't make sense. I'll just go ahead and look at the 5-star reviews instead. But leave the reviews is a great thing to do. Then section 4 is actually interviews with clients. If you haven't been doing interviews with your clients, we sit down and just do an interview. They are so much fun because not only I have a blast with these, I get to sit down with somebody who I remember when they joined and then go through their story and go through their results. What went well? What were some of the challenges? What are the biggest pieces of advice that they can give to people who are looking to get started? These videos are so fun. We do them on Zoom. We don't edit them. I put them up on my YouTube channel. And then from there, I can embed these on this pre-called video page so that people can go and check it out. They can suss them out, they can hear these stories, and also they can identify with different types of people in these videos. So if you look at the different titles here, and these are just a few of the ones that I have, but you have how Misk started making money online while on maternity leave, how Chris made 80 grand and quit his job with Ecomboss, how Joyce is having $800 days and multi-4-figure months, how Aisha made 5 figures online while having a baby. We've got night shift, we've got 180 grand months, we've got construction workers, skeptical to $200 to $500 a day online. These are all very different outcomes and situations and backgrounds and clientele. So people can go and look at the people who either have the results that they want or match sort of their demographic or the situation that they're in. Somebody who's in construction might look at the construction videos. Somebody who's having a baby or is on maternity leave might look at the ones with the mums. It's great because there's all this diversity in terms of different types of stories. And people can look at people who are in a similar situation to them and go, all right, cool, would this be the results I get? Can somebody who's in my situation working night shift, can they get results? Oh, Beth made money on night shift within 6 days. This is amazing. And the really cool thing about this is we've gone from short form, in those little FAQs, to long form here. So a lot of people, they don't go through all these, or they might go through one. But people who really want to binge, you have it all here. They don't have to go and search and look online to try to find stuff to look at. It's all here for them, ready to rock and roll. So they can just go, all right, cool, that's what I want to look at. And they'll just chuck it on while they're cooking dinner. I have so many clients that come in, and it's some of the shortest calls because they've just gone through a bunch of interviews. They've heard all the stories, they're sold. They don't need to be pitched. They don't need to be pushed. They've got all the information. They're ready to pull the trigger. That's what section 4 is. And section 5, I just kind of just put like a little longer form, little screenshot there. We just have a bunch of screenshots and link to my Instagram. So if you want to follow me or check out my content or just see a bunch of visual proof, I could do thousands of screenshots here. It's just mainly because I want the page to load within 30 seconds. If I did that, it would be forever. But I have that there so that people can go ahead and check that out. Now, the bottom line is that if we go ahead and put together a page like that, and we just ask them to go through it before the call, I think it's very fair to say that you can see why people would be pretty warmed up and pretty certain about what it is that we do before the call. And it's the reason why when somebody comes on and they haven't gone through it, it's honestly in my best interest to go ahead and just ask them to go ahead and go through that before we go ahead and do the call. So that's the pre-call asset page. Now, let's move into step 2. We've gone through the pre-framing, pre-call asset page. The next thing I want to do is give a bit of context from here. If you are a offer owner and you have a sales team and you have a certain way of selling and you don't mind if the calls go a little bit longer, that is totally fine. That one step there of building out that page, putting everything you need there, and then having your setters or your closers reach out to them and ask them to watch them. So have some automations to make sure people get resent to that page. And if somebody comes to the call and they haven't watched anything, just rescheduling for 20 minutes later so they have time to go through that, or later that night or the next day. Even if you just do just that, and you keep the rest of your sales process the same, you're going to be absolutely fine. You don't need to go in and then have, obviously, the rest of the things we're going to cover in this video impede on your sales process. If you have a way you like to sell and you have sales reps and you want them all to do it the same way, that is totally fine. Or if you don't feel like your sales reps are skilled enough to do what I'm about to cover right here, totally cool. You can do this section, the first part there, deploy that, train them on how to make sure that people go through that, and you'll be absolutely fine. You don't need to do anything more. But going to step 2, this is more so nuanced if you are an offer owner, or you're somebody who takes your own sales calls, or you have a sales rep, or you are a sales rep watching this, and you have the background and the experience to have the nuance of noticing the things I'm about to cover. Because we're going to have a bit more of a nuanced approach to sales so we can collapse the time of these calls. We've warmed them up. Now let's go ahead and enroll them with the least amount of time required and without having to do things that are unnecessary. So if you have experience in sales, you'll be able to do this. If you are an offer owner and you obviously have a bit of background in sales, you'll be able to do this and you'll be very, very impressed with how this goes. If you are running a team or you're brand new to sales, it's better just to do step 1 and just start with your normal sales process stuff. But let's go to the next section, which is hot button discovery and pre-handling objections. Now, profiling the prospect is key for short calls. If you have experience, you can very quickly, after a few different things that have come out of the prospect's mouth, you know very quickly what kind of prospect they are. So for example, if I look at a program like mine, where I help people get started making some money online, they're brand new to the market, we help them get started with e-commerce. There's a few different types of prospects. We have people who are brand new to making money online. They haven't been burned before. They haven't been in some crappy course that promised them $1 million in 2 days and got scammed. They're full of aspiration. They're not very high on skepticism. They're really eager. They're sort of like that golden retriever kind of prospect. They're amazing. They're so much fun to talk to. They jump into the program. They do super well. They follow the brand. They make money. They're great. They're the best kind of people to talk to, right? In that case, I don't need to handle a hell of a lot of pain points. I don't have to handle a hell of a lot of trust stuff. There's a lot of people who go through and they hit all 7 of the different, like doubt, cost, desire, money, support, like all these things you hear from people like Cole Gordon, Jeremy Miner, that are amazing. But if you just profile the person you're talking to, you can identify very quickly what you actually need to cover. That's really what it comes down to. Somebody's brand new, super excited, really positive, golden retriever, they've gone through the videos, they're excited to do it. I would honestly just touch on goals, what is they're actually looking to achieve, what's the motivation behind wanting to do this, maybe support if they have a partner, maybe touch on that. And then stuff like solution, like what are you exactly looking for in a coaching program? What are you looking for in terms of a program to get you to that XYZ goal? At that point, I know exactly what they want. I can just move straight into pitch because they don't have a lot of fear. They don't have a lot of nerves. They're very much overwhelmingly positive and overwhelmingly excited. And they've gone through the pre-call videos. I don't need to do much more. That discovery can be 5 minutes and I can be directly into the pitch, which is awesome. But what about somebody who's high skepticism, pessimistic viewpoint, has never taken action? People who come on, they've booked 25 calls with all kinds of different programs in the past, and they've put it off 16 years, and they want to know why. If it's so good, why is everyone doing it? It sounds too good to be true. That person, I'm going to absolutely have to cover on stuff like pain points, doubt. What's the cost of staying where you are right now? Solution. What are you looking for? What is it these other programs in the past haven't provided for you that's made you feel like you can't actually trust them to pull the trigger? All these different things that are more so built around something like that, I'm going to have to cover. Of course, I'll spend a bit of time on goals and understand where they want to go, but realistically, those are different things I'm going to be looking for. Those are the hot buttons. Those are the objections I need to pre-handle. There's another one, which is the self-actualized experience prospect, who is like, hey, listen, I'm making money with e-com, but I found that your model is very unique, and I feel like it could take into what I do specifically really well. Look at the videos, it sounds great, and I think I'm really eager to give it a crack. Somebody who's very much an A-type prospect, but they're very eager on what it is that we do. They have a very specific need that this thing fulfills, and based on watching those videos, which is what really helps, they know that it's going to fit in. Well, then I can just ask, cool, what exactly you're looking for in a program, in the system, in order for you to get that outcome? And number 2, what are your goals? What are you looking for in something like this? So I know those, I can move directly into pitch because I know that they've gone through the videos. They wouldn't have shown up to the call if they weren't actively interested in what we do. And as long as I match what it is that they're hot buttons and just pre-handling objections I might have heard inside of that, preamble they would have given you, it's fine. I don't need to spend a lot of time in discovery. And what about the burn in the past? Eager to start. They want to do this thing, but they've been on the programs that, overpromised and under-delivered. They've watched the videos. They know that what we do is real. They're really excited to get started with us, but there's that nerves, that fear that's still there because they've been burned in the past. They jumped into things that didn't work out too well. Well, in that kind of one, I'm going to go deep on obviously their goals and what they're looking for, but then I'll go into solution. I'll go into what did they try in the past? What didn't work? Why did they feel like they didn't get the results? What do they feel like they needed in the future with another program to jump into in order for them to feel like this is going to be the best next step for them? So I get exactly what they're looking for. Very, very key. I'll also go ahead and reframe a couple of different things. I'll build up their identity. I'll go, the fact that you're actually willing to try and look into something new is so admirable because there's so many people who go out there and they've been burned once, twice, 3 times by a program and they decide, that's it, I'm giving up on my dreams. I'm never going to try another online program again. And that's sort of like, going on a date, having a couple of dates with somebody and then they decide they don't want to see you anymore. It breaks your heart. You feel betrayed and you feel burned. You put all this time and energy into this person. You're really connected to them. And as a result, that's it. I'm never going to go on another date ever again. I'm never going to ask another person out. I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life because I got burned by that one person in 6th grade. Right? It wouldn't make sense. But that's how a lot of people run their lives. And the fact that you're here, eager to make a change, even though you haven't had the best experience in the past, I commend you for. And my job here is really just finding out what exactly you need to see if we really are the right answer for you. Now, bear in mind, that reframe right there does way more than hitting on all the different discovery points. If I listen to what it is that they went through, reframe them like that, find out exactly what it is that they're looking for, well, then I can just mirror that and pitch, and I can make them very, very, very aware that this is the next step for them. And again, pre-call stuff warms them up to it anyway. If they thought there were going to be another scam or another thing that's going to burn them, they wouldn't have shown up to the call anyway. So clearly there's the level of interest there. But that's the way that I run my discovery, is I just look for exactly what kind of prospect they are. I know what I need to cover. I touch on those, and whether that's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, doesn't matter. I will then move into the pitch, the next stage. But you'll see by profiling the kind of person with the experience you have in sales, you can very quickly identify what it is that they need, and you can just jump into it. Number 3 is share screen and rapid fire Q&A. Because we go through the, in the pre-call page, we go through how the program works. What do you get? What does it cost? Like, they know all this stuff before the call. So all I really need to do is get the rest of the questions out of the way, and then I like to screen share what it is that we do to back up my answers. So what I usually do is I've noticed that 95% of the questions have been answered by the pre-call page. The objections have kind of been pre-handled in discovery. So most of the questions I'm going to have at this point during pitch is basically going to be program or delivery based. And so instead of doing some sort of scripted pitch, pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, like a lot of people you see online do, I just go, cool. Well, look, is there anything else about you that I feel like I should know? No? Beautiful. Well, look, I'm super confident I can help you get to that goal of XYZ. Now, after going through those pre-call videos and that page that we talked about, what questions do you have remaining that we haven't covered? Or is there anything else you'd like to see before we dive into the program? And what happens is either give me some questions, or I go, no, actually, I'm really eager to get started. At that point, I say, cool. Is there anything you want me to see around the program? Anything you're just ready to get started, registered, and dive in? And in that case, we have many people who go, no, I'm just ready to get started. Boom, onboard them, get started, whatever. On the flip side, if they have questions, which are usually going to be program or delivery based, what I like to do is, because words are cheap, talk is cheap, it's better just to show, they'll say, well, how does a program work? How much coaching do I get? Like, what does the coaching look like? Will the coaching work around this time schedule? What usually going to be program or deliverable based? What I do is say, great question. Let me share my screen. Let me walk you through the training, the coaching, and the community, and we'll go through those questions as we go. So let's start with the program. And I just share my screen, and I answer their questions. I show them the coach, answer their questions. And whatever it is I know they're looking for. Let's just say in the discovery, one of the biggest things I found during the solution stage was that they're really looking for coaching. Well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the course videos or showing the modules. I'll show them so they can see that they're there, because I just feel like it gets a bit of confidence and certainty in their mind. But I'm really going to spend a lot of time showing them the coaching platform, the coaches who they're working with, showing them a client chat. Like, here's somebody who we took from brand new to here's what we walked them through. Here's the sales numbers. Here's how hyped they are. And that's the same person you saw in that interview over there who's crushing, left us a 5-star review. By doing that, I not only build the confidence even further, this is exactly what it is they need, but also I can knock those questions out of the way without just talking to them and they don't have anything substantial to hold on to. And then from there, we address those questions, we share everything, and then from there, we can go into assuming the close and if needed, using the coach frame. And what does that look like? We know that they've gone through the pre-call assets, they're warmed up. Discovery, we built it around what it is, the kind of prospect they are. We try to pre-handle any objections that they might have had, and we've gone ahead and hit on all the hot buttons that are relevant to that kind of prospect. We then asked for what questions they have. We shared our screen. We showed the things that are relevant to what it is they're looking for inside of a program. We built that confidence. And then from there, we sort of assume the close. So we say something along the lines of like, awesome. Well, do you have any remaining questions, or are you just excited to dive in? You did a little laugh, right? And as a result, because they showed up to the call after knowing the price, they know how the program works. We've gone through discovery. We've gone through pitch. We've answered all their questions. They really should just say, yeah, I'm in. And most of the time they do. That's the beautiful thing. And it can be 10 minutes into the call and they're saying, yep, I'm in. They're ready to piff. Even though previously, before having to do things this way, you might have had to take an hour and a half to get somebody to remotely close to that level. Due to the pre-call priming, the custom discovery, knocking out the questions during the pitch, those visual aids, the tie downs, either they're in and you just onboard them. There's a logistical issue, so they might say, listen, I'd love to do it, just a bit tight on funds, and you go down the payment plan route, or a buy now, pay later, or using something like Afterpay, or Split It, whatever it is you have access to. Or there's a bit of nervousness, and that's just the coach frame. Now, I give credit to the coach frame to Temple Naylor. He's one of my very first sales coaches. He is absolutely incredible. And the coach frame is simple. If they're at the stage of the call, they're pretty eager to do it. And if they hit you where they think about it, they hit you where they want to sleep on it, whatever it may be, you just go through your basic objection handling and then use a coach frame. So, hey, no dramas at all. Hey, just to be clear, man, taking some time to think about it aside, is there anything else stopping you from being certain you want to do this? No, just want to think about it? Cool. So before you go ahead and go off and think about it, what is it specifically you want to go through in your mind, just so I can send you some resource and just see if I can help? They say, oh, well, I just want to think about it because it's a big leap and whatever it is that the objection is. And the coach frame is very, very simple. It's cool. Well, is it okay if I just talk to you as a coach for a second? And of course, I'm going to say yes. And the beautiful thing about this frame is it means that you're coming in and you're coming at it from a sales lens or an objection handling lens. It's, can I talk to you as a coach for a second? We're now putting on the role of a coach. And what does a coach do? Gives them hard feedback. Pushes them a little bit. You say, listen, if I'm a coach and I'm coming to work with you, I'm here to help you get the outcome that you wanted. So you know how you said you really want to get to this goal? And the past you've tried this, and you've put it off for such a long time. And the cost of you not doing this is you're going to be stuck here, going with this, dealing with this. Remember how you talked about that? Cool. So my job as a coach is to help you get the outcome that you want. And it would be absolutely inexcusable of me to tell you that it's okay for you to go ahead and sleep on it and think on it when you and I both know that we just need to do it. We just need to jump in. Of course you're going to be nervous. Of course you're going to be a little bit freaked out right before you pull the trigger. But don't just think I was nervous before I started. Don't just think that every other client you've seen making the money that you want, living the life that you want on that page, don't you think they were a little bit nervous beforehand? Exactly. So look, while we know that you're nervous, because that's a normal human reaction, you and I both know it just needs to be done. So why don't we just rip the band-aid off and get started? And 99% of the time they just go, yeah, you're right. And they just do it. Because we're not trying to push them in a salesy way or anything like that. We're coming in as a coach, right? Which is beautiful because they're not coming in as a salesperson. And we're just realigning them with everything it is that they said. And of course, you can reword different things that I've said there. And at the end of the day, I'm very, very tired. Not at the top of my game. But the biggest thing is, so all I'm doing is just realign them with what they said. Making it normal for them to be nervous, because 99% of the time, if they're nervous, it's just going to be a case that they just need a little push. And then I just let them know it needs to be done. Because they know it too. Otherwise, they wouldn't have shown up to the call in the first place. And that will get them across the line. If it is a logistical thing like a payment plan, just put together a payment plan. Then enroll them and provide them with immediate next steps. Very, very simple. I see so many people who take the payment, they just basically go, yeah, cool, let me know how you go with the course, and they just leave the course. It's terrifying to me. When somebody enrolls and they've paid money and they've gotten to the program, you need to make sure they feel very, very good and give them extremely clear, tangible next steps. Share your screen. Cool, so did you get your logins? Beautiful. Here's what you're going to be doing. You're going to go to this part of the course, you're going to go through the first step, you're going to do this. I want you to let me know when you've done those and text me my number because I won't be able to sleep tonight unless you do. Make a little joke out of it, and then actually follow up with them to make sure they consume it. If somebody enrolls in the program and they don't consume the program, what do you think is going to happen? Buyer's remorse, refund, regret. They're not going to be happy. But when you go and you follow up with them later that night or the next morning, hey, did you get a chance to go through the first step? I haven't actually heard from you yet. It not only goes, oh my God, I better do this. They know that you care, but then we're getting them into the program so they can start getting results, and the results lead to better reviews lead to referrals, and business starts to grow, and you're having a great time making more money, and you're changing people's lives in the meantime. If they don't consume the product, they're not going to get the results of the product. You're going to deal with all kinds of issues. Consumption is the very first thing you need to make sure that they do. So enroll them, provide with immediate next steps, and then go ahead and follow up. But to recap, this entire system is genuinely the most crazy, simple, efficient way to enroll high-ticket clients without needing to spend your entire day on sales calls. 20 minutes is my average call. I close it over 70%. And it's because I give them all the assets they need before the call to be warmed up, to be certain, to not be skeptical. I then do discovery only as long as it takes to touch on the things that I know need to be touched on. If you have experience in sales, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You profile them, you go through the things you need to cover, pre-handling objections, you move into pitch. Pitch is built around purely what are their questions, what are their concerns, what do they need to see. Share your screen, show it to them, you have nothing to hide. And then from there, assume the close, get the close, and if you need to highlight a coach frame to give them a little nudge, you can do that as well. The last thing I want to add is that as you go through this process, as you roll it out, you're going to be very surprised to see how efficient we can be with our time, how quick we can take people from jumping on a call to becoming a client who piffs, comes in the program, makes a bunch of money, or gets the outcome, loses a bunch of weight, gets the dream girl, whatever it may be, and then refers, leaves great reviews, ascends into your back-end program. It's absolutely amazing. And the funny thing is, some of the happiest clients I've ever had are not people who I had a 2-hour sales call with. These people came in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, they jumped in, boom, they jumped in, they changed their life. It's amazing. You oftentimes find the people who come on, they're super cold, and you go through a super lengthy sales process. Even though at the end they go, yeah, I'm really glad they did that. I'm really glad I got a push. Usually they end up being somebody who doesn't actually work very hard and ask for a refund because they really weren't ready in the first place. Because we did everything on the call as opposed to doing it prior. Short calls equal great clients, what I've almost always found. But that's it for that video. If you're new to the channel, this is Scaling with James. My name is James Conti. As you know, I run a $250,000 per month coaching business myself. I just teach on this channel exactly what it is that works so you can take it as a high-ticket coach, deploy it, make a bunch of money, and change more lives. And I run a program called the Scaling Boardroom. And inside, I work with high-ticket coaches like you, help you scale to 100 grand a month, 200 grand a month by not just doing what I've learned somewhere in a YouTube video by Hormozy. No, like by literally deploying the things that work for me in my business and my private clients' businesses. You're learning from a coach who actually does it himself, who practices what he preaches. Working one-on-one with me, scaling rougher, making a fuck ton of money, changing even more lives. And if you'd like to find out more about working with me, you can book a time on my calendar. You shoot me a message on Instagram. All the links are down below. So if you want to have a chat and see if I can help you, we can go ahead and have a chat and see if I can help you. And look, I talk about this all the time, but if I can't get you an ROI in your very first month using just alone my swipe and deploy, do this, make money, strategies that I use in my own business, not even including my VSLs, my front-end acquisition methods, my back-end acquisition methods, my retention stuff, all the different things we'll build on together, even just my basic strategies. If I can get you an ROI in your very first month, I will eat a shoe, and I'm waiting for somebody to prove me wrong, so I actually have to eat a shoe, and I will do it, and I'll make a video. I'm that confident. But regardless, for now, thank you for jumping on the channel. Hope this video was a banger. Hope you utilized it between this and the last video. The last video I did was basically turning people who are just enrolled in your program, who are going through your system, how to turn them into people who refer new clients to you, and do that in a way where you don't even have to take a sales call to enroll them as a client. Absolutely valuable. Between that and this one alone, you've got ways to enroll clients, get new clients, and do it in a fraction of the time and with far more efficiency. And there is so much more to come. We're just getting warmed up. So, hope you enjoyed that. If there's something you want me to touch on, teach more about, share more about, comment them down below. Let me know. I'll do a video. I'm happy to oblige. I think this stuff is so much fun. I love sharing the things that work for me because at the end of the day, it means you get to make a bunch more money, but also a lot more people get their lives changed as a result of the program and the product you provide them. Coaching is such an amazing industry. It's such a win-win for everybody involved, and I'm very excited to share my small part by sharing what's working for me and potentially working with you one-on-one down the line. But for now, thank you for watching. Hope you found this valuable. Please like and subscribe. If there's anyone that you think could benefit from this video, please, it's a small channel, share it around. And for now, I will see you in the next one.